Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So we got a new announcement yesterday for a new selection pack, the End of Guilt. And it looks like this pack is going to finally have that last wave, or at least up to this point, the last wave of Sinful Spoils cards, including, of course, the new White Forest support. Now, it's not really shown here, but we're seeing multiple cards from Alliance Insight from that archetype, so I think it's pretty safe to say that White Forest new field spell will be in this pack. But also, some of these cards, particularly the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon, will actually be used in White Forest. So the 5 cards announced here are Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon and Azamina. That's of course part of the Sinful Spoils archetype. There's also Psychic Blaster Mark II. This is part of a wave of follow-up support for the Banished Psychic deck. Then there's some follow-up support for Eldritch, as well as general trap card support as well. But for this video, I'm just going to be focusing on talking about all of the new Sinful Spoils lore cards and how they're going to affect White Forest and potentially some other decks as well. Of course, when the pack drops and we know which all cards are URs, I'm going to make a crafting guide for the new pack. But for the time being, we're just going to talk about these cards more in terms of their roles mechanically. So I'm going to jump over to Wikipedia and we can start talking about those. Starting here with Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. This, of course, is one of the cards that was already announced, so I figured we'd start with this one. Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon is a level 12 dragon synchro monster, but unlike stuff like Cosmic Blazar, it's actually pretty accessible, simply requiring 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner. It's got a couple of disruption effects. During the main phase, you can take a monster on the field or in either graveyard and put it in its owner's spell trap zone, although of course you cannot use that effect during the next turn. Then during the battle phase, you can target a monster and a continuous spell on the field and destroy both of them. So both effects have a lot of really cool applications for disrupting your opponent, but this card will actually be used in the new White Forest deck, as I mentioned. Again, it's a level 12 synchro monster with generic requirements, so it's actually pretty easy to access in the White Forest deck, where you have a lot of level 4 tuners in particular, and you're making some level 8 synchro monsters, or at least the one, right? But there's also other level 8 monsters we'll talk about here in a minute. Now, this card you actually are able to summon during your opponent's turn, again, with a way we'll show here in a minute. But, yeah, as far as, like, you know, Crimson Dragon targets are obviously much better stuff, but again, for its accessibility, I think Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon is quite a good card. You'll definitely want to pick up a copy of this. Alright, next up we have Azamina, not the archetype, the card. This is a fusion monster that can actually be summoned using Saint Azamina and a face-up monster your opponent controls by tributing them. So that is a potential interesting application this card has, right? Especially in a format with Liger Dancer. You know, Saint Azamina, this is the card here, you might be familiar with it. This is a card that some Azamina decks are already choosing to play. So, in theory, you know, it's pretty simple to slide regular Azamina in your extra deck and have that option. Now, as far as the actual onboard effects go, I actually think Saint Azamina's effect is stronger, right? Regular Azamina here is kind of like a tax effect, but rather than taking life points, it takes attack points from your opponent's monsters. And then when your opponent's monsters have 0 attack, they cannot use their effects anymore. The problem with this, though, is that a lot of monsters that are using their effects or want to use their effects are just going to be sent off as material for other cards anyway. And also, your opponent's end board, by the time they're hitting the field, they will probably barely lose any attack points, if any, because your opponent's going to be done activating monster effects by then. So, I think that this card is not quite as good as, again, Saint Azamina, which stops your opponent from targeting their own stuff, which can mess with a lot of combos, as well as having a quick effect to summon out Azamina monsters from your deck or extra deck. I think that as an end board piece, this card is just overall stronger. So, I don't know. I wouldn't go out of my way to pick this up, but again, if you're already playing Saint Azamina, you could think about this as a potential sort of kaiju effect from the extra deck. Alright, Diabellstar Vengeance. Now, this card's rarity hasn't been announced, nor has any of the cards following this, but again, I still want to talk about their rules mechanically here. And don't worry, I do plan on making an actual combo guide here as well, but I like doing these Let's Talk About videos too, just to sort of get you a little more familiar with the cards before we see them in action, right? I feel like it's very helpful. So, Diabellstar Vengeance is a level 8 Dark Fiend. It's always treated as a Sinful Spoils card. It can be special summoned by banishing a spell and a trap card from your hand or graveyard. You can also pay half your life points to destroy your opponent's cards, and then if another Diabell monster is on the field, you can summon a Tuner Synchro monster from your extra deck. So obviously, the White Forest deck has a lot of Tuner Synchro monsters, and there's even a new one we're going to cover here in a second. So for that effect, this card is quite good, and you do want to pick up one copy of it for your White Forest deck. You'll also be wanting a copy of Diabell's The White Witch, a level 8 Light Illusion monster, always treated as a White Forest card. It says monsters you control can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects when you control 2 or more Diabell monsters, but you can also send a spell or trap card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon her, and if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a Sinful Spoils or Diabell card from your deck to the graveyard. So this is really good extension for your combo line, and as such, you will want a copy of this card in your deck. This is also, if I remember right, how you access Diabell's, or Diabellstar rather, Vengeance, but I'd have to refresh myself with the combo line. Still gotta practice it a little bit before I make the video here, but like Diabellstar Vengeance, you're going to want one copy of this card for your White Forest deck. Poplar of the White Forest is the new Synchro Tuner I was talking about, level 4 Illusion Synchro Tuner. When special summoned, you can target 2 White Forest monsters in your graveyard and put them in the owner's spell trap zones. And during your opponent's main phase, you can also quick Synchro with this card. So this is how you end up making the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon during your opponent's turn, right? Because we'll go back to Diabellstar Vengeance here. As a quick effect, you can destroy your opponent's monster, or card rather, by paying half your life points. And then because you will have another Diabell monster on the field, you can then summon the Poplar from your extra deck. And then Poplar plus one of your Diabell monsters will in turn then make the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. So that's kind of how that all plays out. And how these cards all sort of lead into one another. And the cool thing is that it doesn't really take away from what White Forest is already doing as part of its combo line, right? It's still very achievable. So yeah, Poplar of the White Forest will definitely be a one-of in your extra deck moving forward for White Forest. All the cards I've talked about that you want to include in your deck are one-ofs, which is actually pretty convenient. Alright, here we have Filia Diabell, which is a normal spell card. Add 1 level 8 or higher Diabell monster from your deck to your hand, or if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon it instead. If this card is banished, you can make all Diabell monsters you currently control gain 500 attack. So, Diabell's accessing this card is actually how you get your Diabellstar Vengeance. I sort of kind of alluded that Diabell's went straight into her. It's actually through Filia Diabell that you can access that. And like a lot of these other cards that we've talked about so far, you're going to want a copy of this card in your White Forest deck to be able to search those new level 8 Diabell monsters we just covered. Alright, now this is the first card that we're actually going to want more than one copy of. You're going to want to get a full playset of 3 Witch of the White Forest, the new field spell, which I kind of have a feeling it's going to be a UR for that reason, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. This new field spell is excellent for White Forest. When activated, it lets you add any White Forest monster from deck to hand, but you cannot special summon dark monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, which is so fine. Basically, for the purposes of White Forest, it mostly just means you're not going to be able to like incidentally make like IP or SP or something. Now, granted, that actually will kind of come up, I think, in our combo line, because a lot of the combo lines I've found in my research go into Appaloosa via Selene, so the ability to not make IP Masquerena or SP Little Knight might actually come up a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, for 99% of the part, it's 100%. For 99% of the part, it's 100% worth it. Great statement. No, it's totally worth it to add White Forest monsters from deck to hand, having a Rhoda for the archetype, and it also has some incidental effects like protecting your monsters from being destroyed by battle and allowing your White Forest monsters to be treated as tuners. So definitely going to want a full playset of 3 Witch of the White Forest here for your White Forest decks moving forward. Curse of Diabell is a new trap card that says if you control 2 or more Diabell monsters, send one monster you control to the graveyard, destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished from the hand or deck, you can add a Diabell spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. I don't think you actually need this one. I'm trying to see, there's one more after this. The trap cards, I'm pretty sure you don't end up needing either of these. The other one we have here is SINFUL Spoils Sanctification. A new continuous trap card that says you can activate one of these effects, target a Diabell monster in your graveyard or banishment, discard a card if you do special summon, or target a monster card in your spell or trap zone and special summon. So, kind of niche, honestly. I don't think you really end up needing either of these for your White Forest decks here. So, to sort of recap here, it's going to be 1 copy of Vengeance Dragon, 0 Azamina, not required, 1 Diabellstar Vengeance, 1 Diabell's the White Witch, 1 Poplar of the White Forest, 1 Filia Diabell, and then 3 Witch of the White Forest. These are going to be the main cards, and then 0 of the trap cards. Sorry, let me double check that real fast. Okay, I lied. I had a feeling I was lying. Curse of Diabell. You do actually need 1 copy of this for the graveyard effect. I was so focused on the first effect, I was like, surely that doesn't really come up, right? I guess it technically could in some situations, but no, you want to send this with Diabells, and that's how you add Filia Diabell and then Diabellstar Vengeance. Okay, so that makes sense. So you do actually need 1 copy of Curse of Diabell, specifically to send to the graveyard to add Filia Diabell, which then adds Diabellstar Vengeance. So that's going to be the complete recap there. And honestly, I think that this wave of support is coming at a pretty good time for White Forest, right? It's coming at a time before Yummy and Canine and the Justice Hunters archetypes all hit, with Dracotale as well, which I was a little worried that those might end up overshadowing White Forest. If those end up coming out shortly afterward, it might still end up overshadowing White Forest. That kind of happened in Paper Play too, but I guess we'll have to see moving forward. Either way, I'm really eager to try these out. Definitely look forward to my crafting guide, and then I'm also going to try to get a White Forest updated combo guide out on the same day when this new pack drops. So thank you all, as always, for watching. Super appreciate ya. Let's go ahead and move now to the outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.